Salut everyone! One of the questions I see everywhere on Discord, on Reddit, like everywhere, regarding like the usage of Linux is, what GPU should I get? Is my NVIDIA card good enough, or is AMD the king of the hill when it comes to Linux? Well, in this video, I'm gonna answer those questions, and I'm gonna answer them with an objective approach. No BS. Let's get into it. As always, we're going to start with a little bit of context. What is really important is to understand why I will not be talking about Intel in this video. Intel right now is providing really great cards, especially when it comes to encoding. Like, those cards are beasts. But when it comes to gaming, and especially on Linux, the results are all over the place. And in my opinion, as it is right now, if you are gaming or doing any type of content creation on Linux, I will avoid using an Intel card. And again, it's nothing against Intel. I'm using one right now. I'm recording this video using an Intel Arc 380 on my CachyOS streaming/recording PC. And I have only good things to say about it. Guys, maybe the situation is going to be different 6 months, 1 year from now. But right now, I can't recommend Intel for like hardcore gaming. Now, let's talk about AMD and NVIDIA. And the way I'm going to build this video is going to be a little bit different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go first with AMD, and I'm going to describe like the pro and the cons for AMD on Linux, and then I'm gonna do the same with NVIDIA. And at the end of this video, I will share my personal thought for my personal usage. And you will see it's not as easy and I would say cut through. It's not like a clear mark in the sand when you have to choose between AMD and NVIDIA, as a lot of users would like you to believe on internet. Let's start with AMD. AMD right now is literally the brand of GPU that most of the hardcore Linux users are pushing. And this is, I believe, for good reason. So let's start with the Pro. The first argument for the Pro is the fact that the out-of-the-box experience is just awesome with an AMD card. So we'll get into the nuance a little bit after, but I would say if you want a plug-and-play experience, the AMD card are the one to go through. There is no driver to install because they are already included with the Mesa stack, RADV, and within the kernel itself, you just put your card, install your Linux distribution, and it should work. And when I say work, you will see there is some caveat related to that, but it does work out of the box and nobody can say the opposite. The second point I want to mention there is related to performance. The performance on Linux is superior or equal to the performance you will get on Windows. There is specific case scenario where it's not the case, but I would say for the main usage on Linux, you're gonna have a great experience on most of the game. And this is really awesome. The third point is related to the price-performance ratio. And this price-performance ratio for the AMD card is the best. I'm thinking about buying, for example, a 7800 XT at MSRP. This card has been one of the best in terms of price-performance ratio than any other card on the market. Another pro I want to mention is the support of FSR4, which is planified in the future. Right now, it's not a feature yet, but I still have to mention it because if you watch the video, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months from now, and you want to use Linux, you will certainly have access to this feature. And FSR4 is, in my opinion, the best software upgrade AMD provided for a long time. There is no question about it. What you need to understand though is it's going to be limited to the RDNA 4 GPU series, and everything before that might not support FSR4 at all. So keep that in the corner of your mind, but I think FSR4 is really a great feature, and I have to mention it here. It's a game changer, in my opinion, for AMD in general. Another point which goes in the direction of AMD when it comes to hardware control is the fact that if you own an AMD GPU on Linux, you're going to be able to fully control its hardware. You can control the fan speed, you can control the power, you can decrease the power or increase the power, you can undervolt also your card, so you can play with the voltage of your card, no problem. And this is awesome. To give you like I would say like the best overclocking possible, you will have like all the parameters accessible on Linux. And this is a great feature. And because we are talking about support, another point, which is in my opinion like super important, is the fact that you can install multiple drivers on Linux. You are not limited to the open driver, like the RADV stack, included with Mesa. You can also add different drivers like the AMD Vulkan one, or go full proprietary driver and use the AMD GPU Pro driver. So here I'm going to put a link in the description below towards the Arch Wiki page, which explain what are the difference between those drivers. But long story short, the AMD Vulkan driver, for example, they have been known to have like better performance with ray tracing game, for example. Relatively easy to install different drivers on the same operating system and launch the game you would like with a specific driver depending on the usage you want to do. I'm giving you an example. You want to launch Cyberpunk with ray tracing, well, you will have better performance using the AMD Vulkan, for example. So you can switch whenever you want, depending on your needs for gaming. And this is, in my opinion, a pro. Another great point related to the AMD GPU is a full game scope support. Right now, only the AMD GPU are able to take advantage of game scope. And if you want to play with this great micro compositor, well, you will need the AMD GPU as I speak. And we will talk about it on the NVIDIA side. NVIDIA is going to be supported by GameScope, but as we speak, it is not. So this is another like win for AMD. And the last point I want to mention is that overall, the Vulkan support will be better and I would say like fresher on AMD versus NVIDIA. The main reason behind it is because the AMD driver are open source. It's easier for the Wine dev, the Proton dev to actually implement all the new features within the Vulkan driver versus NVIDIA. So you will have overall like a better support for the newest game. Right now I'm thinking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which was like kind of a mess for 1.5 months with the NVIDIA card. It has been solved, but what it means that on Linux, if you had an AMD card, you could have played the game day one. But on NVIDIA, well, you would have to wait like 1.5 months before enjoying the game. So yeah, another win for AMD on this one. Now let's talk about the negative point. The first one, in my opinion, which is one of the biggest one, is the fact that there is no day one support with the RADV stack. And I did experience it when I just bought my 9070 XT. I couldn't have like a great experience out of the box. And to the defense of the OpenStack driver developer, well, they need the feedback from the community to upgrade and update the driver. So it has been like a common issue with each new generation of GPU on AMD. I was talking about some of my buddy who bought 7900 XTX day one, and they had to wait like 2 to 3 months to get the driver fully supported on Linux and having like a flawless experience. So what it means that if you want to have like a rolling edge hardware, well, it's not going to happen day one. So something to take in consideration. And when I'm mentioning that, I also need to mention the fact that all the other features within the card, not even just gaming, but productivity feature like ROCm, I don't know how you want to pronounce it, nor like FSR4 will be available out of the box. You're gonna have to wait for first the open source drivers to be like provided by AMD, and then for the dev to be able to work on them. So again, it's going to be between 3 and 6 months of wait after the initial release of the new hardware for you to take advantage of it. The second negative point, which is also like really big in my opinion, is FSR3. From a gamer perspective, FSR3 is just visually bad. All the cards before the 9070 like series are not supporting FSR4, which means like all the previous cards for me are totally useless if you want to use the upscaler. The reality is like visually it doesn't look good. You're gonna have to run the game if you have the same like feelings that I have natively, and this obviously like it's gonna be pretty violent in terms of like FPS performance, because nowadays most of those games they need an upscaler for you to have like a lot of FPS on your screen. And what it means that you're gonna have to buy a new card, a more powerful one, if you want to enjoy your game at a higher level. So again, this might be a subjective approach here, but there is a lot of video out there which are showing like pixel pimping the screen and saying like, hey, you see like the difference between like FSR3 and all the other upscaler. It's just bad. So this is my take on that. I know some of you are going to be like, oh, FSR3 is perfect, but it needs to be said, this is the worst upscaler out there, objectively. And now the third point, and this one is related to work. If you are doing more than gaming on your Linux PC, reality is that the support of anything related to work on Linux might be a little bit limited. First example, and it's sad to say, but I do believe we are living in a CUDA world. Everything is gravitating about NVIDIA and their software and CUDA and all of this. There is a lot of application which might not be working with AMD card, whether you are on Linux or Windows. But I would say that on Linux, it's even harder, right? Because there is some AI software you might not be able to work with. There is some editing video software like DaVinci Resolve, which gonna have like limited feature on Linux versus what you could do with an NVIDIA card. And even if ROCm overall is getting way better than what it was like 2 or 3 years ago, you can see like it's getting better and better, it's still not supported as much as CUDA. So you're gonna be put behind at this level in terms of productivity. The fourth point, which is in my opinion like one of the worst points for AMD, is the HDMI situation on Linux. So I'm planning to make a full video on that, but long story short, if you have a screen that required HDMI 2.1, it won't work on Linux because of the actual situation with the open driver and HDMI. So if you have a high refresh rate with high resolution, you're gonna need a display port on your monitor. It's not that big of a problem, but it could be, especially if you are using a TV, for example. Those monitor, like they don't have display port, most of them. And the second issue is related to content creator. If you want to do any type of like HDMI capture, you're going to be limited to do any type of pass-through on your capture card. And something you really need to take in consideration. Now, the fifth point is about the feature which are like all available on Windows through the Adrenaline software. I'm thinking about the AMFM. I'm always making mix like with this one, so maybe it's AFMF or whatever. You have the HyperX and also the anti-lag feature, which are only available on Windows and they won't be pushed on Linux. So do you need those features? Is that something you enjoy? Well, they will never be on Linux as I understand it. And that kind of sucks if you need them for whatever reason. Point number 6, it's about power efficiency. So when you look at the power efficiency from the 3 last generation of AMD card, only the last generation start to look good in terms of power by frame. And so I know, like especially in Europe, like the price of energy is going through the roof, and it may be some things you want to look at. Only the RDNA 4 series of card start to be like competing with the latest generation of NVIDIA card. If you buy anything before, you're gonna burn a lot of energy to get those FPS on your screen. So this might have an impact in your decision if you don't want to spend too much energy while gaming. For the 7th point, and it's kind of like the issue related to the positive I was mentioning before, is the complexity of running three drivers at the same time if you need them. So I was mentioning ray tracing before, but this is a reality. You might have to switch driver on the go while you play your game, depending on the option you want to use in the specific game. And I was talking to some of my buddies, and they own an AMD card, and they didn't even know there were like 3 drivers on their card available on Linux. So this complexity, could be a double-edged sword, right? And that's why I need to put it there, because it's cool to have multiple options, but then it's, more work from the user side to test and learn and to educate themselves towards this feature. And the latest problem related to the AMD graphic card is the potential regression linked to the Mesa and kernel update. I've been seeing a lot of posts, I think it was like 3 or 6 months ago, where a kernel update literally destroys the performance by up to 30% for some AMD GPU user. And they had to wait like a full cycle of release of kernel to finally get their performance back. And it's not something like you will encounter all the time, but it can happen because the driver is directly linked to the Mesa stack and the kernel. Well, it's easier to get some regression versus what NVIDIA provides. And it's something you're gonna have to take in consideration while running an AMD GPU on Linux. All right, so now we cover AMD, let's jump into NVIDIA. So for NVIDIA, we're gonna follow the same process. We're gonna start with the Pro. So the first point I wanna mention is the fact that DLSS is totally supported on Linux. All the features related to DLSS are supported. And this is awesome because what it means that if you have an NVIDIA card that can run DLSS 4 on Windows, it will be able to run DLSS 4 on Linux. And DLSS 4 right now is the best upscaler on the market. No discussion about that. I would say like FSR 4 is at the same level, but here you can benefit from DLSS 4 even if you are using a 2050, a card which is like 5 or 6 years old as we speak. And this is great. Support is there on Linux. The second big point I want to mention related to NVIDIA is related to productivity. We know that NVIDIA is becoming the leader of AI or has become the leader of AI. Everything related to CUDA, everything related to productivity will obviously run on Linux. No problem. You're gonna have access to everything related to content creation, CUDA, AI support. You will have a great support for those features. And if you use your card for working, well, you are in a good place here on Linux. No worries. The third point I want to mention, which is kind of like crazy, is the fact that NVIDIA provides day one support for all the release of card and all the features. So I'm going to give you an example here. DLSS 4 was supported day one on Linux. It took obviously some time for the dev to implement the callout within Wine and Proton, but it's there. It's implemented in their driver. So what it means is like if you went and buy a 5090, put it on your PC, install the driver, day one, you will have support on Linux. And this is awesome. And because we are talking about the feature, let's talk about the point number 4, which is related to all the other like little feature from Windows. So I would say like the main one are supported, not all of them. Unfortunately, we'll talk about that in the cons. But if you want to enjoy Reflex, or if you want to enjoy DLSS multi-frame gen, if you want to enjoy DLSS ray reconstruction, it's available on Linux and it's working, which is good. And the last point is you won't have any problem related to HDMI 2.1, because the drivers are proprietary. You should be able to bypass all the open source limitation by using a proprietary driver. Now, let's talk about the negative. And the negative, you will see there is still a huge list of negative for NVIDIA. The first one, I think we need to mention, like this is a big elephant in the room, is related to the poor DirectX 12 performance on Linux. So I made multiple videos about it. It's a common known issue on Linux. You're gonna lose between 25 to 50% performance depending on the settings you put in your game while moving from Windows to Linux. And this is a big bad hit. You have to be honest, this is just awful. However, the good news related to that is that maybe in 3 from 6 months from the day I'm recording this video in late March 2025, the situation might change because the dev of NVIDIA have been aware of the issue. They put it in their bug to solve, and each time I had a bug on Linux with my 4090 RTX, it got solved. So hopefully they're gonna be able to fix the performance issue, but as it is right now, it's a mess. The second point is related to the price-performance ratio. If you are on a budget or if you want the best bang for your money, NVIDIA is not the solution on Linux when it comes to gaming. Those cards are really expensive, and because of the fact you lose performance versus Windows, it's a double slap in your face. You're gonna buy a 4090 and you're gonna get the performance of a 4080 Super on Linux. So be aware of that. It could be a really big kick in the nuts when you discover that. The third point is not really related to Linux, but I still have to mention it because I'm an owner of 4090 RTX, and there is a lot of hardware issues on those cards. The most known one is the connector, this 12-pin connector, which we have all been talking about in the tech industry for 2 years and a half. It's fragile, it can burn your card, you never know. I'm having a stress attack each time I have to remove the card from my PC or I have to switch with another card. It just sucks. And this, I want to put it in this list because this is, in my opinion, the worst idea they had on a long time to put this connector on those cards. There is other issue linked to the ROPs and the physics support on the latest generation of card. I have to mention them, but those, they could be in between comma fixed in the future. We will see. But they definitively made a lot of mistake on the 5000 series. And I won't add any other comments here, it's just a mess. The fourth point I need to mention is related to the open driver. There is an actual huge development for the open driver for gaming called NVK on Linux. Those drivers exist, and I've been monitoring the evolution of the performance on this channel, and I can tell you that the developers are working really hard to provide an alternative to the proprietary driver. But the truth is right now, they are still behind the proprietary driver in terms of performance and also in terms of feature. So keep that in mind. Open drivers are here, but they need a lot of work. So that's why I put it in the negative side. Maybe in the future, we'll be able to put them in the positive side, but right now, it's a negative for sure. Next point is related to the weak Vulkan support. As I mentioned in the AMD part, because the NVIDIA drivers are closed source, it's harder for the Proton dev and Wine dev to upgrade as fast as they do with the AMD counterpart, the Vulkan stack. So you're going to be always a little bit behind until NVIDIA decide to give the proper documentation related to the implementation of Vulkan in their driver. So something to think about. You're gonna have those issues like the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth issue in the future. It's a fact, unfortunately. Another point against NVIDIA is the game scope support. Right now, they are still in the work of having a full support of game scope with NVIDIA. I have some viewers who are telling me like they had a great experience on Gamescope. On my side, I tried Gamescope, multiple versions, the Git version, the normal version, the plus version, whatever you want to call them. And all of them, they didn't give me the right experience. A lot of crash, a lot of issue. It does work, but it's not working as it's supposed to. So running game in HDR right now on NVIDIA, yes, it's possible, but it's problematic. As we speak, Wayland is going to implement HDR within the protocol. And so most of the D is going to be able to use it and activate it also in-game, but we are not there yet. So if you buy an NVIDIA card today, don't expect to play like and have a great experience in HDR. Is not going to happen, unfortunately. Now, another point, which is kind of polemic, but I need to mention it, is the fact that some of the distros, they are not supporting the NVIDIA driver as they should. And you're going to be like, yeah, Max, what are you saying? This is not true, blah, blah, blah. And I've been testing a lot of distros, so I won't put names there. But most of the time, there is not a work that has been put behind the support of NVIDIA driver. It's getting better. Most of the mainstream distros now are getting better, but not all of them. So if you are using a really like niche distro or a distro which is definitively against like NVIDIA from, you know, a politics standpoint, there is a hard chance that you're going to be on your own to install the driver. And those drivers are not easy to install if you are not like a Linux connoisseur. And this just sucks. So you're going to be limited in terms of distros, the one which are actually like working out of the box. And it's a reality, unfortunately. Now, when it comes to the drivers themselves, I mentioned they are hard to install, obviously. But the other issue is related to the driver design. And now with the open module and the closed module, a lot of users are getting like totally confused on how it works, how it doesn't work. So I'm going to put a link in the description below where I explain in depth what's the difference between open module and closed module. In the future, we will just have an open module and it will support everything. But as we speak, there is still a lot of complexity from a user standpoint, transitioning from the closed module to the open module. And when you mix it with the bad support from some of the distro and the lack of information related to it, it becomes a huge mess out there on internet. So I'm going to put some link in the description below. If you have an NVIDIA card and you want to educate yourself, don't hesitate to watch my video. It's certainly going to answer a lot of questions for you guys. And now the last point, which is also like a big miss from an NVIDIA standpoint, is that you won't have a full hardware control of your NVIDIA card. And by full, I'm meaning that you can still overclock the card. You can change the frequency of your core clock. You can change the frequency of your memory clock, but you won't be able to change the voltage. So you won't be able to undervolt like you will be able to do on Windows, for example. And this is a big missed opportunity, in my opinion, and especially with the two latest generation of card, where undervolting the card is just almost like a requirement. Well, you won't be able to do it on Linux. And this really sucks. Could it be changed of the future with some like NVIDIA like tweak? Hopefully it will, but I didn't see any bug open related to that. So yeah, we will see how it goes. And voila, now you have a more objective approach when it comes to should I go with NVIDIA or AMD if I run a Linux distro. So I hope I didn't forget any point out there. Please let me know in the comment below, because I try to really like stay objective and share my findings while using my AMD and NVIDIA card in my PC. And you see, like this is the funny part with this all like rivalry between the GPU like clan, the green one versus the red one. It's not clear. It's not like a clear line in the sand. You can just say like, oh yeah, AMD is better. Yeah, in certain case scenario, like AMD is way better. But in other case scenario, it's not there at all. And for me, it really depends on your usage, your needs. If you ask me today, like which card I put in my PC, me owning like an AMD NVIDIA card, well, I went back to NVIDIA. And even if I lose performance in my game, even if sometime you could get like some proprietary like driver issue, which I didn't have for like, I don't know, like 2 years now, Wayland is working, you know, on both AMD and NVIDIA. It's exactly the same experience. I'm like, I need my card to do my video. And that's the only card right now which give me this experience. Could the 9070 XT give me the same experience in DaVinci Resolve, for example, like 2-3 months from now? Maybe, but right now it just doesn't work well on Linux. It just, at least like it's not possible for me to edit on Linux. Rocem is not there. I had huge issue with DaVinci Resolve. So maybe in the future, those issues are going to be solved with new kernel, new Mesa driver. Pretty sure it's going to be the case. But right now, I just can't use it, even if I love this card. So I had to put it back and put my 4090 back into the PC. So yeah, this is where we are at, guys. Let me know in the comment below what is your choice of GPU, what's your plan, if you're gonna, you know, just buy an AMD to move to Linux, or if you plan to stay on NVIDIA. Like, just let me know. And yeah, that's all, guys. So I want to thank you for watching this video. I hope it was a great experience. And if it was, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe because it helps growing the channel. And for all the other one who went like a level above and decided to support this channel financially, I want to say thank you. You guys are the best. You did support me via Patreon or via YouTube or via direct donation. And I have to say, guys, thank you very much again and again, because without you, I wouldn't be able to buy this AMD card, for example, and make all those nice videos. So thanks again. And as always, see you in the next one. Bisous, bisous.